right, welcome in to the Charge On podcast. On this podcast, we equip believers to live out their faith in the real world and charge on. My name is Dallas Wilson, your host. I am joined, as always, by Pastor Wayne Bray and a special guest today, Pastor Hayden Crompton.
Let's go.
Hayden, glad to have you on the podcast.
The Hayden Crompton.
The Hayden Crompton. Let's make sure everybody knows that we're starting for the second time this podcast because we had to adjust Hayden's mic stand because he is 7 foot tall and he was blocking the camera screen. Hayden, man, we're glad to have you.
I'm also not 7 foot tall.
You're big, though. All right. Don't be modest.
6'11".
Yeah.
6'11".
And a half.
Literally, we were talking before we started about how my insecurity makes me have to really try to like tall people. I just don't like you just because you're 6'5". I'm not.
We'll get there. We'll get there sometime.
Yeah, I think God didn't make me that tall because he knew I'd be prideful. I just would be a jerk if I was 6'5".
No.
And you're like the nicest person ever.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's
Appreciate
why
that.
God made you 6'5" and not me.
Yeah, that's right. He's very humble.
Yeah, Hayden, man, we're glad to have you in. For those who don't know, Hayden Crompton is the new campus pastor of Upstate Church Greenville. Hayden been on staff a year and a half.
Yeah,
Okay.
year and a half. Mhm.
Yeah. Hey, so tell us a little bit about you. Tell us a little bit about your family. Tell us a little bit about your experience on staff at First Baptist Simpsonville Upstate Church, man.
Yeah, so I grew up in the Upstate, went to Wren High School, and then met my wife at Anderson. We've been married going on 10 years, got 3 kids, Beckett who's 6,
Okay.
which also he's getting baptized in a couple weeks.
Sweet.
So
Awesome. That's
super
awesome.
cool. Yeah, going to be one of our first at Greenville. It's
Yeah.
awesome. Baylor,
Time out.
he's...
What he's not saying there is he waited to baptize him so he could baptize him at Greenville.
No,
Just
yeah.
make him be
Tell-
disobedient. Make him
Strategic.
Strategic, also, trying to disciple him well.
Yeah, okay, all
like,
right, whatever.
And I'm just, so will he be on the day of first baptisms?
Mhm.
Then
December
I'm just
14th.
going to tell you, he should be the first.
That's what I'm saying.
I
Yeah.
think it's just like, yeah,
And,
absolutely.
and you tell me, you would do the
Alphabetical.
same exact thing.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Wayne told me I was being disobedient when I didn't baptize my child. So there's
But-
that. Pastor Wayne coming to the rescue.
So, anyways, I guess I'm disobedient, But
yeah.
but Beckett, it's been cool. Like he came to know Jesus back in the summer, so yeah, it has been a minute. But we've got another son, Baylor, who's going to be 5 here the next month, and then a little girl named Nora,
Who's
and
the sweetest.
yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, she's the best, little chunk, man.
Yeah.
She's
So Nora, for whatever reason, I mean, obviously Hayden's been with us at Haywood as they prepared to get Greenville going.
Mhm.
Nora doesn't like men. Like she notoriously, she's like scared of men, bro. I was like, I made it my mission. I was like, this baby's gonna like me. And
she
so,
goes to him now.
So
Like,
we
reaches
kept
for you.
nursery for the Greenville preview services,
Yeah.
and I was like, hey, I'm gonna make Nora like me. Now she loves me, bro.
That's
She
great.
comes to me. Yeah, it's
all
great.
it took was like 6 weeks, man.
Yeah,
There you go.
6 weeks of
6
like
weeks just pouring in.
dedicated affection toward the baby, and now she loves me, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we're glad to have you. Tell us a little bit about the past year and a half, man, being on staff at Upstate Church. What's that been like?
It's been awesome. Like just from the very start, like when we came, our first Sunday was at Anderson the
Mhm.
weekend after Will got married. So we were worshiping there, and it was like it immediately felt like home. Everything from just the entire process of searching for a campus and learning culture and being a part of the teaching team has just been an absolute dream. And so now it's like really like in the best way becoming like super overwhelming that we're here, in the best way possible. That it's what we've been praying for, get to be a part of like what God's doing here at Upstate. And so now, launching on Sunday with the soft launch at Greenville, it's just been, again, like a dream come true, man. It's been
Yeah.
awesome.
And a lot of people probably don't know listening, so it's not the first one to do this, but Hayden came on our staff as a teaching pastor without a specific campus. We knew he was going to launch. We knew he was
Right.
going to, and we didn't know timeline. It was kind of like, hey, if you feel led to come and be a planter, do you come on the team.
He was a man in search of a home.
It's very
Yeah.
much an Abraham kind of, I'll go
Okay.
to a place I will show you. You know, it's kind of like, and
That's
then-
a little much.
Yeah,
Not
I don't take that. We'll let him say that. I don't take that.
But I do think that, it was a step of faith. Definitely saying, yeah, I'm definitely feel led to be part of the Upstate mission that God's called our church to. But how has that been like finding the specific place? And like, that has to be kind of fulfilling.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was in the journey of getting here, like thinking, I just said a minute ago that I had a memory on my phone from like a year ago now from when we toured one of the possible Greenville spots. But then even thinking more of like being able to go from campus to campus in the first few months and then go with Pat to Fountain Inn
Yeah.
and just see like, his leadership, how he started that campus, and like how he invested in those people, and then yours at Haywood, like it's been really cool to see. Just again, not only the culture within our team, but how it is one church, many locations,
That's
and
cool.
and just and just replicating itself. So
So how many months were you in Fountain Inn?
so I guess we were here with all the interest meetings, and
Core
then it
group
was
and all that.
that was like June-ish
Mhm.
to January. We moved over in
about 6
February.
months.
And then from January to really last week.
September,
with Haywood.
November.
So you really were a part of 2 campuses for a good length of time.
Mhm.
And what would you say about consistency of identity and that kind of thing?
Yeah,
That's cool.
definitely. Just the campus constants are there
Mhm.
everywhere, and just watching both you and Pat like lead in different ways for sure, like different leadership strategies, but investing in the people to help them
Right.
catch the mission. That was like super unique because I think in one way, like it's easy to compare myself to other pastors and think like, I want to be like both of you guys, but God's gifted me in a certain way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I think one of the biggest takeaways was that it's okay to be myself and be who God's called me to be, and still take the mission, replicate it in different places. And that was one of the biggest things I learned being with Pat and with you at Haywood. So it was cool. But then definitely like the campus constants are there everywhere, and that was really fun to see too, for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good. So tell us a little bit about Sunday, man. So you said a term that I wondered if some people didn't know too. You said this was the soft launch of Greenville. So Wayne, explain what the difference between a soft launch and a regular launch.
So Wes made define it a little differently over time. He's our multi-site pastor, of course, but just the general definition would be we started back in let's say it would have been 2021, 2022 when we launched Anderson and Malden in one day. I think it was 21.
Seems like 20 years ago.
Because this was 4 years. Yeah, it's 4 years ago. So when we launched them in one day, in essence, it was a soft launch. That's the first time we ever really used that terminology like that, I think. We didn't really do it with Harrison Bridge, I don't think, like that.
No, it was different.
And so basically, in essence, we internally launch. We send the core group out there and they begin to worship on Sunday mornings and go ahead and work out the kinks. Like the kids ministry, the preschool ministry, the worship team, the sound system. You kind of want to work through some of that for a few weeks prior to inviting the whole community to come brand new. So that's kind of what a soft launch is.
And so that was soft launch was this past Sunday. Gearing up for Christmas Eve is when y'all were like full speed ahead. So tell us about your first Sunday in the space, man. How'd it go?
God, it was so good, man. Like just from the very start, and I definitely see why now we do soft launch just to work out the kinks. I would say that everything was really smooth from our team and from Sarah with kids. The whole kids team was there, like helping load in for kids and tear down. Had a great response for like our production team to make sure everything was smooth with worship. But one of the coolest things about Sunday was just the expectancy with our people. I mean, they really moved in expecting to encounter God.
Yeah.
And that's our initiative next year. But it's awesome that's already taken root in our people. And I would say like even Sunday in the room, like in the space, it was just almost like you could reach out and just grab the unity and grab like that excitement from the people.
That's really cool.
It was sweet, man.
What one or two things stick out to you that you'll remember from this past Sunday as you go forward?
Yeah, the managing partner at Rome. So we're leasing the space in downtown, a place called Rome. It's a really beautiful space, like really awesome.
ROAM, not ROME.
Yeah. When in Rome, But
no, not when in Rome.
No. It works though.
But I want people listening to the podcast to know where to find it.
All right, so it's spelled ROME.
And the address is number 2. Is it West Washington Street?
Yeah, number 2 West Washington Street in the one building.
In the one building.
Right on. I mean, really, our kids are looking over Main Street.
That's a pretty sick spot.
Yeah.
Like Baylor, I mean, he's thriving. You know, he's having the best time. But so we moved in. The managing partner this past week, we had a one-on-one just to kind of talk through like our relationship, how to best reach the city. And he's a kingdom-minded man. Was a pastor on staff at another local church, and since he's taken the space over, his prayer was that we'd be able to like see a church come in on Sunday morning. So
so literally an answered prayer. Upstate Church is an answered prayer. That's cool.
And I think he took the space over, became the partner there, I think 6 months ago. And we reached out about a month into his tenure there. So just the fact that God like put it on his heart and
Mm.
was working providentially to see one space fall through, but then, us to be able to go right into the next
Yeah.
one. That was a huge win in of itself. But one of the things that he said leading into Sunday was, there's a reason that there hasn't been a church on Main Street in the last several decades, if not like 50 plus years.
Mm.
And like a lot of times you see in downtown, a lot of the churches almost like, this sounds like a knock. I don't mean it, because I know there's a lot of faithful churches in downtown, but they're almost built up like fortresses where like you're welcome on Sunday morning, but
Mm.
that's kind of it. And so he mentioned that there's a reason that there's a lot of business owners and people that do life on Main Street that have experienced like the church hurt or
Mm.
aren't in a church anywhere else. And his prayer and what he said to me was, it'll be really great not only to see you guys worship on Sunday morning, but this place to like spill out onto Main Street.
Yeah.
And
Mm.
so
That's right.
one of the coolest things was like, Sunday morning, I felt like I got to see my brother-in-law, Hayden Cooper, and then our men's huddle group leader, John Jordan. I looked out the window across Washington Street, and both those guys are walking over to a couple homeless men, inviting them into the space. And
That's
it's
cool,
cool.
man.
it was cool to see us not be that fortress, but almost like a fountain, like spilling out into the city already. And that was just a huge win. Just
And they came in, sat on the front row.
yeah, and
That's
just
cool.
I mean, they were spitting distance, man.
mhm.
Yeah.
I mean,
God spit in the pastor.
Yeah, there's a chance, man. He might have got baptized. I don't know, but it was sweet. It was just sweet, and that's like the expectancy. It wasn't that our people were excited for just great sounding, worship or
Mhm.
an incredible kids program. Like they were excited to see God
Yeah.
actually spill out on the Main Street.
Yeah, I know for Upstate Church, going to Greenville is really important.
Mm.
We say we're a church for the Upstate, and we mean that. I think Greenville is pretty strategically important, though, because it's hard to be a church for the Upstate if you're not a church for Greenville.
For sure.
Right. And so this is a super important step. One thing I just want to take an opportunity to and give you a moment to ask. If there's somebody who's listening to this, a part of Upstate Church, not a part of Upstate Church, but like they're hearing this and they think, man, maybe God's called them to be a part of a church that's for Greenville.
Mm.
What would you say to them as they pray through that?
Well, one, come try it out. Come worship with us for sure. But if God's put it on your heart, I mean, walk in obedience. And us being one church, many locations. Like I think that's another valuable thing I learned with Fountain Inn and Haywood. Just people moving that were a long time at Simpsonville or a long time at HB,
Right.
feeling called to go to Fountain Inn and be a part of the mission there. So I would say definitely like come and worship with us and continue to pray through it. But then if that is you, like one of the things we've seen on our core team is there were people that were genuinely praying through it. They were struggling with whether or not God was calling them, but then they took the step to start serving, whether leading a group or jumping in with kids.
Mm.
And as soon as they took that step to join a team, it was like God just gave them complete clarity.
Yeah.
So I would say go. And then another win is I think I counted, we had people not only on our core team, but even worship with us Sunday from 6 different campuses.
That's
So,
insane.
yeah,
That's crazy.
Awesome.
Anderson, Haywood,
Yeah.
HB, like all over the place.
I think, and we got some other stuff to talk about besides just Greenville today. But one of the things that I think we don't want people to miss, and this has kind of been on my heart for a while now, but this idea of like Acts 19, Paul goes to Ephesus,
Mm.
and man, crazy stuff happens when Paul's in Ephesus,
Mm.
right? That's the scene where Paul's like healing people, and the Jewish itinerant exorcists, right? They're like, man, I wonder if we could heal by that same power
right.
that Paul's doing. So they go in and like talk to the demon,
Mhm.
and the demon says, Jesus I know,
Mm.
Paul I've heard of. Who are you guys?
Right.
Then they get in a fight, and the Jewish itinerant exorcists run out naked, right? And how do you know if you lose a fight?
This is not what's happening next
Yeah.
Sunday.
Yeah, no, this is not
Right,
happening.
right.
But how do you know you lose a fight?
Did you leave with your no
If you
pants
leave with
on?
no clothes on, you lost the fight,
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
And
Good
man,
sign.
But
It's a
like,
good sign.
when Paul gets to the city, crazy stuff just starts happening in the power of God. And it says
Mm.
that eventually what happened was that people in the city came and renounced their old ways
Mm.
and burned their old books. And in the last verse of that section of scripture, man, this has just been on my heart for so long. It says the word of the Lord continued to prevail mightily in that city.
Mm.
And so one thing I just don't want us to rush past, and Wayne, maybe you want to speak to this, as somebody who's continually talking about us advancing the mission, is like what we really want to see for the Upstate is we want to see the word of the Lord prevail mightily.
Mm.
Prevail mightily. So, how is Greenville the fruition of that, and what's next after that?
I'd say everywhere we've gone has been one of those weird things where God just providentially opens doors in His
Yeah.
timing. Because I mean, I'd say 10 years ago when we came, like you said, if you're going to say your mission is for the Upstate, it would have to eventually include Greenville, downtown Greenville.
Yeah.
And I'm sure most everybody knows who's watching this, but that's the name of the city and the county. So
That's right.
Greenville County is like ginormous,
Right.
largest county in the state of South Carolina.
Reaches all the way to the
Yeah,
North Carolina.
so most of our
I mean, the
campuses, not all, but
state
most
line.
of our campuses are in Greenville County.
Yeah.
We have them in Lawrence County, Anderson County,
Right.
and Union County as well
Right.
now, 4 counties. But the majority are in Greenville County. But Greenville downtown is a very different demographic, it's a very different culture. It's and so even Haywood being, 10, 15 minutes away,
Yeah,
it's
for
still
sure.
it's still different.
Right.
Downtown Greenville is unique because you have so many people, even within walking distance.
Yeah.
And so I'm super excited about us, going where, in a lot of ways, other people are running from. I don't know that I'm not pointing at anybody in particular. I'm just saying most people wouldn't look at downtown Greenville and say that's where I want to
Right.
go. They would find a different place. I mean, Hayden and Haley are actually going into a place that is probably not your stereotypical culture to plant. I mean,
Right.
it's not even an easy place to find. I mean,
Yeah.
it was very hard to find a location.
Not a church building.
No, and
Right.
and most, I would say most churches are. It's not that they're not willing. It's just really hard to do what we're trying to do in places like Fountain Inn,
Right.
places like downtown Greenville, because we're renting spaces that are not traditionally churches
Right.
in the first place. And so going into a place that would not necessarily normally have a church, and I think finding the people and shining the light in darkness in a strategic place that's center city of the largest county in South Carolina.
Yeah.
I think that's huge.
It's a big
It's
deal,
just
man.
massive.
So we're just praying that the word of the Lord would continue to prevail mightily. That's what
Absolutely.
that's what they wrote about Paul when he was done at Ephesus. One day when we're all done here, I hope that's what they write about us and
Absolutely.
Upstate. Hey, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk. I thought what we preached on this past Sunday gave us a good opportunity to just talk about who we are as a church. So there'll be people listening to this who are familiar with our church. There'll be people who go to our church, people who don't go to our church. I think even there's a chance that a lot of people who even go to our church, though, don't necessarily know who we are in terms of why we do what we do. I think the way that I phrased it this past Sunday is ministry philosophy. So people, every church has a ministry philosophy.
Sure.
So some of them don't have good ministry philosophies. Some of them don't have ministry philosophies that are like written down. But every church has a ministry philosophy, a set of rules that they operate by that guides their decisions. A couple examples come to mind just to kind of like set the tone for what we're about to talk about. There was the seeker-sensitive movement.
Sure.
Right? Let's do everything we can to like tear down the obstacles between us and the lost world. Good motives, in most cases. Led to some churches doing some stupid stuff.
Sure.
I just think if you're like playing Highway to Hell to like reach lost people,
Correct.
you're probably
Hypothetically.
off base. Yeah.
Hypothetically, if that were to have happened anywhere.
Yeah.
Or to preach the 10 suggestions. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Kind of.
There are other, but there are other ministry philosophies that were big, like in the past 20 years too. Some of them like that were actually dangerous. I think about like the emergent church. The emergent church wanted to be wanted to be like relevant to the culture. So they replaced like sin with sickness, and like, hey, there's actually a problem. So I just say that to say every church has a ministry philosophy. One thing that we preached on 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verses 1 through 5, I'll read it and I'm going to ask you guys some questions. But one thing that was just really clear with me as we were preparing to preach is we are actually not smart enough to come up with our own ministry philosophy. We don't think that we got all the answers that we can do church better than everybody else. So what we did as a church, honestly, what you led out in, even before I was on staff here, and we've just been like seeing the full effect of, is we decided we wanted to be a church that does church God's way of doing church. And I think the clearest example of this, 1 Corinthians chapter 2, we preached it this past Sunday. It said, this is Paul writing to the church of Corinth. He says, and when I came to you, brothers, I did not come proclaiming to you the testimony of God with lofty speech or wisdom, for I decided to know nothing among you except Christ Jesus and him crucified. And I was with you in weakness and in fear and in much trembling. And my speech and my message were not in plausible words of wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, so that your faith might not rest in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God.
Mm.
So Paul's writing to Corinth, right? And he's like, hey, here's my ministry philosophy. I didn't come trying to impress you.
Right.
I just came trying to show you Jesus.
Mm.
He really said, he wants to elevate the message of what he's preaching over the messenger who is preaching it.
Mm.
Really, reason that's really important is in Corinth, the public entertainment was oration, right? And people making a name for themselves. And Paul said, I'm not trying to make a name for myself. I'm trying to help you know Jesus. So I want to take just a second. Let's explain how that informs what we do at Upstate Church. How do we exemplify this level of like Christ-centeredness, message over messenger mentality? Wayne, you want to answer that first?
Yeah. So I think to start with, we're not a categories. I should say I reject. I reject categories. I believe
All
all categories, pretty much. I despise them. I think categories divide people where God called us to be unified. And so I generally try not to use categories. I just try to be biblically faithful. And I do think that is rare. If a church actually does that and forgets about all the things that the categories man try to shove you into, then you'll be lonely because everybody else is in a category.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. Right. I mean, literally. And so you get criticized for not choosing a man-made extra biblical category. But I think what we try to do is simply put the Lord first, recognizing that in 50 years, I'm telling you, if I retire at 67, 70, whatever, 65, I'll, broaden it out a little bit. The truth of the matter is 40, 50 years from now, nobody in Simpsonville or the Upstate will know Wayne Bray's name. That's the sad truth. And we could debate that. It's just a fact. Nobody in 50 years from now
Seems
will
kind
know
of
my
harsh,
name.
but
It's
okay, I'll
absolutely
grant it
true.
to
You
you.
just think about, I could get specific, but
Right.
we won't go there. But if you try to think of who pastored what church 50 years ago, you couldn't answer the question for the most part.
Right.
It's just true. So if that's true, then if I make everything about me, I'm an idiot.
Right.
I'm like legitimately not only just prideful, I feel like I'm like completely missionally ineffective, and I've made my life investment in a ministry about something that will absolutely mean nothing in a few decades.
That's right.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. I don't want to. So I feel like everything we've been shaped around the last few years has really been centered around the only thing really worth lifting up and bringing people around is the lordship of Jesus Christ. He's the one who's worthy of worship. And so the less people know our names,
Right.
in a lot of ways, the better.
Yeah.
And so the decentralization of personality, which is 1 Corinthians 1 and 2. Because Paul was saying, man, some of you are like, you baptized me, Apollos baptized me,
Right.
Christ, Jesus. And his whole thing was like, I'm glad I didn't baptize you. I mean, it's like, he gets a little snappy, man. But his whole point is like, this is stupid.
What does it matter?
You're
who baptized
wasting
you?
time arguing about personalities and people when that has nothing to do with why you came to Jesus. Yeah. So anyway, I do think, and let me segue real quickly because I think this is so important denominationally, and I don't know how many people in a SBC life will watch this, but I couldn't help but look while you're preaching too, because I heard Hayden Sunday in person. It's amazing, man. Chapter 1, because you started in chapter 1. 1 Corinthians chapter 1 is all about don't be divided.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You just think about this. I mean, chapter 2 is about don't make it about yourself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And here's literally what I feel like the Holy Spirit was telling me. SBC is so messed up, and we've got so many categories, and we're so divided because we're making it all about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, literally, if we'd start with the stop being divided, we would actually accomplish everything that God's called us to because he would be the main thing, not us.
Yeah.
Categories are about us. Anyway, sorry.
That's good. Yeah. So I just love that idea of message over messenger. To your point about being forgotten, this is pretty brutal. I was talking with Corey the other day and some people, at our Harrison Bridge campus. So everybody's watching it by this point. We're celebrating Corey Watson. Man, Corey and Mel are taking an awesome step.
Sure.
Going and
proud of him.
Replicating even some of what he's learned here at Upstate Church at a great church in our state convention. But I thought it was funny. It's weird how quick people move on from a pastor. So like you pour your life into a congregation to preaching the word, And it's not even a bad thing. But I was telling Corey, I'm like, hey man, in 3 weeks after you're gone, they'll go on with their life and they'll move
Right.
on to the next pastor. And it's just the way it works. And I was like, I can tell you that from experience
Sure.
because I was at Harrison Bridge, and when I left, people were so sad. And then 3 weeks later, it was good. Now I didn't leave the church. I just
Sure.
went to another campus of a church. But I've just seen that play out over and over and over again in other churches. You know, people love their pastor, and then their pastor takes this job or that job, and people just move on. And why is that so? It's because it was never about a pastor to start with.
Shouldn't have been.
Right. The message is what stays the same, no matter who the messenger is.
That's that. That's
Hey, what part of that attracted you to First Baptist Simpsonville Upstate Church?
Well, I think it's like back to your point, like we've forgotten, or a lot of churches have forgotten from a missional and a ministry philosophy that Christ is the head. And I mean, think about how many churches have like built it on a man, and then either the man moves on or the man like goes
falls.
on, falls or like goes to heaven and is with Jesus. Like how many of those churches are like actually hurting now because the next pastor isn't the man they had, and then they lose sight of the mission and all that stuff. Like so I think you forget that Jesus is the head, and we just get to be the under shepherds. But yeah, it's like to that, just it's not about us at all. It's not about like one man being the lead and just being the only mouth and the only mouthpiece, right? And I think another side of that is like what was so attractive is the fact that you've like given so many young guys the chance to preach God's word and to step into their calling. And I mean, how many of our young guys are preaching on Sunday mornings at 19, 20 years old? First of all, if you had me preaching on Sunday morning when I was 19 or 20, it would have been a train wreck. But think about how many guys you're like developing to be able to step into that too. So
effort.
yeah, absolutely.
And some people probably don't know this, but we rotate. And so like we have so Hayden's in Greenville, you're in Haywood, and I'm primarily in Simpsonville with Stephen Williams, our campus pastor here in Simpsonville. But all of our campus pastors share the load of rotating to other campuses. So in any given year, a campus hears, probably 8 to 10 different pastors or other young guys who are kind of coming up in the pathway. And that is a decentralization of personality. So when God does call somebody away, it isn't quite as hard as it would have been. I think that's great.
And I think it's shown even, even in our staff how healthy it is. And I think that's verse 5, so that your faith might not rest on the wisdom of men, but on the power of God. Like we want people to be built up in that way. I think one of the things that was most attractive about that for me, and so at this point in my life, me and Wayne, I've said this to Wayne several times, said this to different people. God would really have to do something crazy in my life for me not to be at Upstate Church. I have no problem vocally saying that because me and Jenna really vocally believe it. Like we believe it in our heart.
I mean, like if LSU called you and said 90 million, you'd have to pray about it.
If LSU called me and offered me $90 million, I would not pray. I'd assume it was God.
That would have to be, it's like a Red Sea moment.
But other than that, we feel like, we're committed to what God's doing at Upstate Church. But one of the things that solidified that in my heart, even as I was on staff here, a young pastor, just seeing what God's doing, is I realized how much of there is a latency in my heart. And just to be transparent, y'all can add on to this if y'all feel the same thing. How much there was a desire in my heart, even if it wasn't always prevalent, if it was kind of pushed down, to be the center of attention. Like for people to love the messenger more than they love the message, right? And I just started to realize, man, it's a dangerous thing to try to build your platform off of Jesus, because Jesus doesn't share his fame. Jesus, the King of all glory, the creator of all things, the one who sits on the throne right now, is never okay with being like, hey, you want some of my glory?
Right.
Because it's not all due me. You could have a little bit. And so it was just a good checkup for me as I walked through and processed. One thing I love about our church so much is that it helps my sanctification. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's not about building my platform. That's been a super freeing thing for me. What would y'all add to that?
Well, I'd just say too, part of it, and I know we've talked one day, we're going to have like an entire podcast about our model and that kind of stuff, I think, anyway.
Yeah.
Because I think that'd be super helpful. And we'll probably repeat some of this, but I think one thing that's true of our model is that in some ways we're not. I don't want us to. You talk about seeker sensitive. We are not attractional. People can, people have all kind of a million assumptions about who we are and what we what we want to do. But we're not a lot of things, and I think when you go down to the decentralization idea of the preaching pastors, a lot of times I do think about it in the practical or pragmatic way. And I'm not saying we're pragmatist or over pragmatic, but it works.
Right.
So it's more effective
Mm-hmm.
to decentralize.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what has happened, and so this is going to make it sound less spiritual and less humble, all right? But I think it's much more effective to broaden a base, to train young guys for the future, to build a team of dominant, amazing, godly men to lead the future of a church than it is to think that I by myself can do it. That's just dumb.
Right. You can't
That's
do it.
not even like, so it's prideful, but it's also foolish to think that I could somehow be as effective as 13 of us.
That's right.
Yeah. So I think that's part, for me, a big deal too.
And you're teaching every one of us, like the team itself teaches every single one of us, like to pursue excellence with total dependence. You know, like I want to be the best preacher I can be.
While depending on the Spirit.
Yeah, and without comparing, because like when I came in, that was like one of the things that Stephen Williams and I talked about a lot. Was like I would look around the teaching room and I'd be like, all right, what am I doing here? They're gonna find out I'm a dud.
What is my place in this room?
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But it's like the decentralization.
Because that teaching team room too can be
it's unbelievable, man.
Not harsh, but I mean, like we're debating theological topics, ideas, like, and if somebody makes a dumb suggestion, we say that is a dumb suggestion.
Yeah. And it stings a little bit, you know. But it's also like in the room, it's you're being who God's called you to be. You're preaching the word of God and just letting Him do the work. It's like what Spurgeon said, just letting the lion out of the cage and letting Him defend Himself, you know. And so that's one of the things that really stands out. It's like pursuing excellence with total dependence.
You know, you made the comment about I can't do what 13 people can do. With Lane Kiffin going to LSU, it's brought up a bunch of the throwbacks on like ESPN's Instagram and stuff to Nick Saban's staff at different points. And so we look at Nick Saban, greatest of all time, right? The GOAT. How many national championships? 6, 7, 8? What was it?
7.
7.
Yeah.
Right. Did I just do 6, 7?
I think you
Man,
did.
You don't have to. You don't ever have to do that again.
How many national championships does Georgia have? I can't remember. Are you saying Nick Saban has more than the entire University of Georgia?
The question is, how many national championships does Georgia have since Alabama won their last one?
How many times Kirby Smart beat Alabama?
Never mind. We're not having this conversation.
One time.
When it mattered most. Anyway, I think we all talk. Nick Saban is undeniably the greatest coach who ever coached college football. But I think sometimes what happens is we look back and one person gets that credit, that glory, right? Nick Saban's the GOAT. But Nick Saban's 2015 Alabama coaching staff had Kirby Smart, Lane Kiffin, Mario Cristobal, who's at Miami, Mel Tucker, who coached at Michigan State, Billy Napier, who was Florida's coach, who just got fired. It was just like stacked with people. And sometimes I think that's what teams elevate the whole system, even if one person gets credit. And that's what I love about our staff is nobody really cares who gets credit.
His coaching staff made him a great coach.
Right.
And he, as a great coach, made those men better.
That's right.
And now they're leading like he was leading.
I do think that's who we are as a church.
Yeah.
That you make us better. I hope in a lot of ways we make you better. I was encouraged just preaching through 1 Corinthians 2 this past week to be able to say to our people, like, hey, this is who we are. We make it about Jesus. It's not about us. That's great.
It's so weird. I didn't do it on purpose, but, it was weird. I told Amy when we were on the way home from listening to Hayden preach, it was so cool because I didn't do it on purpose. I wasn't preaching.
Yeah.
So for me not to be preaching the day that we talk about it's not about the preacher, that's kind of fitting.
Kind of verifying. Yeah. All right, let me throw a loop through this conversation. And I know we've been talking for a while, so maybe we can get ready to close here. But let me throw a loop for this conversation because we also understand at our church that people have preferences. And so we've actually said, like, over the past 8 years, I know, preferences aren't bad. Preferences are just preferences.
Sure.
So how do we encourage people? You might hear people say, well, I prefer vintage service or I prefer this preacher to that preacher. Like, how do we encourage people to lean into preferences, but without prioritizing preferences? Because people go to different campuses sometimes based on preferences, and we don't believe that's a bad thing.
So a missiologist in seminary may pick this apart and say that I'm wrong.
A missiologist is someone who studies missions. Okay, I'm going to pick that apart.
But I
So
think
thank you for that. I needed that.
I think all worship is cultural. I think our expression of worship is from a cultural perspective. And so if you go to South America, if you go to you're going to see worship in one way. If you go to Ivory Coast, where Amy and I have been, it's very different. I mean, and so you get that when you go to a different country. But for some reason in North America, people actually just forget to use their brain.
All worship is the same in North
Because
America.
in the United States of America, there are a multitude of cultures.
Right.
In Simpsonville, Mayberry, basically, in Simpsonville, there are a multitude of cultures. I would even say generational. We have multi-generational cultures. My dad doesn't even get the same jokes my kids get. They,
Right.
If
you went up to Phil and said 6'7", would he know what you're talking about?
No.
Yeah.
We just said you don't have to do that.
But I'm just proving a point, Hayden.
But that's so like, you could use a Taylor Swift illustration in 10 o'clock traditional. They're not getting it. It would die.
Yeah.
So those are all culture. Those are cultural things. So the way you hear a preacher and the songs you sing and the way you sing them, all of that's really based on a culture that it's experiential. It's our family. It's our background. If somebody comes from a more liturgical background, they're probably not going to dig the modern worship. I mean, that's
Right.
just most likely because of it's not because of personality as much as it's the experience and culture. I think what we don't think about is none of that's personal. So I literally do not make it a goal. I do not care if I'm anyone's favorite preacher. That's not my goal. I do not care.
What is your goal?
My goal is to multiply disciples who multiply disciples. That's really, and so I really, the day could come where, to me, it doesn't matter how many times I preach, how many people say amen, even though I'm definitely needy in that category. How much people come up and pat you on the back after. I want them to hear the truth and understand it really well. And I feel like if they got the truth from God's word, then I did my job.
That's good.
And if people left going, man, Wayne is the best preacher I've ever heard, and I said, hey, what did I preach today? And they couldn't tell me, I absolutely bombed. So it's not, so that's where I would say.
I just think the important distinction there is preferences aren't bad. Preferences are just preferences. Because I do think that is part of our model in the sense that some people feel really free to go to Greenville because they prefer Hayden's preaching.
Sure.
That's great. They're just helping us advance the mission.
And I give you some clear distinctives. Dustin is a really funny preacher. He's just got some natural ability to be humorous. You're a super passionate preacher. So there's just a lot of variety. Ashley is a dude who will sit on a stool and chill out and have a conversation with you. Just a very different vibe. People prefer different deliveries, but it's a cultural difference. That's my take.
I think one thing too, though, like as I heard that question, my mind immediately went more to the worship side, and just want to encourage like people that are in a worship service. Remember that worship's a response to who God is and what He's done, and your worship can encourage somebody else. And I just at Christmas Eve last year at Haywood, Will and Molly were sitting in seats in front of us, and we had both boys right behind us. And Will and Molly like had their hands like just praising Jesus, man. Like it was awesome. And Haley and I, the boys were in between us, and both of them had their hands up because they saw Will and Molly like responding to who God is. And I just say that because like there are times where even some of the songs that we sing, I may not necessarily prefer them, but I want to worship in a way that like it can be contagious so that other people can lean in and experience Him too. You know what I mean?
That's good.
That's good. Well, gentlemen, the listeners may not know, but this is the last podcast we'll do of the year. I'm really excited. We've got some big plans for the podcast. Going to think through those and talk through those for after the first of the year. But this is the last podcast of 2025. So we got Christmas coming up. We want to be sure to tell all the people listening Merry Christmas. Let's try to get them in the Christmas spirit real quick. Just some fun. I think we could snake draft this a little bit. Like if you had to put together your perfect Christmas, all right, and you had to pick like favorite Christmas tradition, favorite Christmas song, favorite Christmas movie, like what's your perfect Christmas lineup?
I'll let Hayden go first.
Tradition, a song like I don't know if I have one that just jumps out at me, but tradition. You ever been to Hollywood?
I have no idea what Hollywood is.
Man, it's like this zoo somewhere. It's somewhere in the Upstate. I don't know where it's at in the Upstate. Middle of nowhere. It's a zoo.
You've been.
Yeah, but you got to go at night because they have Christmas lights all the way through. And then you can ride through a field and there's like deer and these big old cows. This sounds ridiculous. I've never been there, but they have these cows that are like 8 feet tall, and so we like to go out there and see the deer and stuff like that.
All
But
right.
now I'm sounding ridiculous because y'all never been to
I'll
Hollywood.
be honest.
You gotta
this
go to
doesn't sound
Hollywood.
very cool.
No, you gotta go. It's like you have a mile of Christmas lights, which is great,
Yeah.
and then I'm gonna digress. That's
Yeah.
that's all I got. But
All right.
I got that, and then favorite movie is either Christmas Vacation or The Grinch.
All right.
Yeah, the Jim Carrey's version of The Grinch for sure.
Okay. Good. Solid choices. You want
Both
me
of
to go?
those were good. Yeah,
Yeah.
you go.
Favorite Christmas tradition is I always look. We're actually super Christmas people. I mean Christian Christmas Jesus.
Right.
Although we are having a fight right now with Annie-Jet about the meaning of Christmas. We don't do Santa Claus. Like we're not against it. We just don't do Santa Claus or whatever. And Annie-Jet is actively telling us Christmas is about Santa Claus, and we're like, hey, no, Christmas is about Jesus. She says, and Santa Claus. So we're big like tradition people. We do a Harry Potter movie marathon,
Which is
So you're
clear
giving me
now.
a hard.
He is an ungodly guy.
yeah.
You give me a hard time about Hollywood, and
But so we do a Christmas we do a Harry Potter movie
Harry Potter's
marathon.
demonic,
It's
right?
Christmas.
That's what I heard when I was like a little kid.
Yeah,
or
that's
something.
what all the
Teenager
the
or whatever.
independent
Young adult.
fundamentals. That's what. No, I'm just kidding.
I actually think I had kids when it came out, and here I'm saying I was a teenager.
Yeah.
just go with
Anyway,
We watch those. But I always really look forward to the week after Christmas. Is my favorite because we generally are pretty low key that week, and I do like a jigsaw puzzle with the kids over the course of the week. That's fun. Favorite Christmas song? I'm gonna hit you guys with one that just you can't. I got every Christmas. I can't wait. And y'all are gonna pick on me for this, but "Mary, Did You Know" is the best Christmas song ever.
Wow.
Do you think Mary knew?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna say so too, but it's still a good song. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. I like that.
Yeah, and then favorite Christmas movie is definitely Die Hard,
Mm.
or Home Alone, but I'm gonna go Die Hard.
I like Home Alone too.
Yeah, do you like Die Hard?
I do, but it's not a Christmas movie. I was joking
No,
earlier.
it
when
really.
I said that.
I really believe Die Hard's a Christmas movie. I think it's fitting.
I do like Bruce. Though.
It is a Christmas movie because it's taking place at a Christmas party,
Sure.
so it's a Christmas movie.
I hear you.
All right, what's your favorite? What are you looking forward to?
So, so I'll say song. What's the? Is it Carol of the Bells and the steamroller Benham? You ever heard of this? Like Benham steamroller?
I have no idea what you're talking about. Right
Oh, do you know who I'm talking about? See,
Yeah.
y'all,
put it
legit.
up there. Put it up there on the screen.
Yeah.
Hey Jamie, you got
we
that
need,
on
we
the
need to
screen?
find that and play it for y'all in a minute. But it's amazing. So that song, and it's like it rocks out. Like it
Okay.
eventually, like it's like metal, heavy metal.
Okay, is it like Siberian Orchestra or something?
That's who I meant. What's
Yeah.
what's it called? What did I say?
Trans-Siberian Orchestra?
Yeah.
Who's Mannheim Steamroller? That must be like some
Yeah.
kind of
There's
like
no way that
actor from
exists.
Germany
Like,
or
I
there's
something. I'm
don't.
not sure who that is. But
Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Trans-Siberian
Yeah.
Orchestra.
Yeah.
See, I don't even know what I'm
I
talking
know what
about.
you're talking about.
That's
It's
who I'm
good.
talking
But
about.
that is a great pick.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Have you ever
the
been
best.
to see him live?
No,
Okay.
no, but I do like the song.
Okay.
I rock out at Christmas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I have no idea who the other person I'm talking about. I think it's a person. That's Mannheim Steamroller.
I'll
have
give it
look
to
that
you.
up. I'm not
Favorite
sure.
Christmas movie?
Elf probably, maybe.
Elf is a solid pick.
I like Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I like the one. I like Christmas Vacation too.
Yeah. It's a good
And
one. You got a big tradition
Home
you wanna
Alone
look forward
too.
to?
So I'll just use this one. So when I was, we don't do it anymore because my dad ran out of stuff. But so my dad got his inheritance was in a shoebox.
Okay.
Yeah, Paw, Mama, they were just like super poor. And so dad was my Paw was a farmer and that kind of stuff. So when he died, he had left my dad a shoebox full of just miscellaneous items. None of them of value, like monetarily. And at Christmas, for like 10 years in a row, my dad, and then we were all adults, all my siblings, my dad would pull out the shoebox at Christmas and he would hand out we'd get to pick
Yeah.
what item we want from
That's
the
pretty cool.
shoebox.
That's
So he
awesome.
gave out his inheritance from his dad at Christmas every year for about 10, 15 years.
That's awesome.
And bro, that's where I get Pawpaw's hammer. So when I joke
Okay.
around about, and I use that as an illustration of value. And so Pawpaw's hammer, I got Pawpaw's like pipe wrench. And
That's good.
anyway, so those are like, so it was a tradition in a way. It ran out because eventually the box was empty.
There's only a shoebox. You can only go
Yeah,
so
but
far.
that's probably my, as far as memories and traditions and stuff. We still get together obviously every year and that kind of stuff. But that's probably my most significant tradition.
Yeah, I won't sleep on the Christmas Eve tradition. So if everybody's listening, Christmas Eve services at First Baptist Simpsonville Upstate Church,
for
all of our campuses. You can find out the information, times, and locations online. But we didn't do Christmas Eve services before I came to Upstate,
Me neither.
and it's become one of my favorite things, particularly just for the moment of at the very end of lifting the candle up
Yeah.
and going throughout the room. So I'm really looking forward to that too.
Yeah. Amy's Monkey Bread. I should have said that too.
That's a good one too.
Holy
That is
cow.
really good.
But 23 services this year.
23
Counting
Dope.
Greenville.
Easter services.
23 Christmas
3:30 at
Eve.
Greenville.
Counting the Eve services. We're
Listen,
doing 3 Eve services.
There is no reason you can't make one of the 23 services if you're listening. If Kevin McAllister can make it to church on Christmas Eve when he was left home alone by himself,
For sure.
you can
Amen.
make it.
Amen.
All right. Well, hey, any as we celebrate the year, so Christmas Eve, New Year's, as we celebrate the year, anything you guys want to celebrate before we sign off? Highlight of the year from like a ministry perspective. Something that you want to
Definitely a
talk about?
launch of Greenville for
Yeah.
me, man. Just seeing it all come together, and just the launch on Sunday or soft launch on Sunday. I'm super excited to see what God's going to do in the city.
How about
I
you?
agree, man. Upstate Greenville. How you going to choose anything different right
Okay,
now?
That's
yeah.
right.
What was your highlight?
I think I'm definitely going to say baptizing the same day the roof fell at Haywood
That's
was a
true.
highlight.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
well, from
significant.
and honestly, just seeing everybody's response to the roof collapse, but we'll still come to church as the fire department's in the parking lot. That was pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I should say highlight of the year. I forgot this.
Campbell,
Yeah,
so
that should be
sweet.
my answer.
So that's a moving picture. Like every time your screen comes on, I see that she's moving. It's so cute. Yeah.
Spooky a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, her face easing in. Yeah, we're glad to have Campbell in 2025.
Yeah.
2025 has been a good year. I'm ready to see what God has in store for 2026.
Yeah, man.
I'm glad I get to do it with you guys. So I think that's a wrap for today. Until next time, you guys charge on.